of Devorah Perek. Heich Yargol Adam Atzmi midah Bina. We're learning about Bina, and it's by the way, like Bina is not complicated, but it's new. It's new. We always talk about Chachma. We always talk about the lower spheres of Chesed, where Tiferes, kid stuff. But Bina is what is Bina? Like, what is that? So like the first problem with it is that we have our immediate understanding, which is understanding. Bina is understanding. So Bina, as like a type of a way your brain works, is just a manifestation of Bina in the lower worlds. But we're talking about Bina in the higher worlds. So we learned last time, it was last Sunday, Eich Yargol Adam Atzmi midah Bina Hu Lashu Tshuva. The way Bina is equivalent to Tshuva, we learned. And Tshuva ein davar chashiv kamayha mipnei she masakenes kol pagam. So explain. Let me just refresh your memory. We explained how do we get from Bina to Tshuva, from Tshuva to Bina. So we learned together a Zohar in Parshas Nosai that dahi Tshuva dahi Bina. So we explained as follows that the way the world was created, we can handle this. It's okay. The way the world was created is that you have, of course, the three higher spheres, which are called the spheres hanelamim. It's hidden. We don't understand really. We don't know what's going on. The Keser and Chachma and Bina. And then we have what we can begin to understand, Chesed, Devorah, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Malchus. We can understand it. The lower down we get, the more we understand. Ironically, even though it's in a way it's a higher madrega, but we can understand. The world of Asiya. So I'm just saying conceptually, it's a sort of a Big Bang theory on a spiritual level, that everything starts off as Echad. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Echad, Yachid, Ein Yichud Ki Yichudai, Ein Echad Kachdusai. In the world of Echad, there's no Toiv, there's no Ra. In the world of Echad, there's no Or, there's no Choshech. Because those are all things that get sorted out as they manifest itself on a further level of Gashmias. But Ba'etzem, in Shemayim, there's no, when we go to Shemayim after 120 years, there's not, new day, new night. There's no Zman by Kodesh Baruch Hu. So there's no Or, there's no Choshech. Not a good day, not a bad day. And it's only the very, very big Chacham in this world that can understand that Kol man da'avid Rachmana l'tav avid, that even though something is bad here, it's not that it's not bad, Holocausts are bad, but it's not that it's not bad, but if we'd be able to conceive or at least trust and believe that in Shemayim there is no Toiv v'Ra, so Mamela Kol man da'avid Rachmana l'tav avid. So that's the principle of Tshuva. The principle of Tshuva is that and this is what we learned last week, it's not the pshat that everybody thinks that Tshuva is some sort of a rehabilitation program, a correctional facility, a way to make something, an aver that I did like the 12-step program, like, not a way to, something I'm doing something bad, turn it around, do something good. Of course, it's that also. Choser b'tshuva. It's not, as I said, it's not a tshuva in the lashon of like an answer to my problems. And hence you have people which are choser b'sheila. That's not the meaning of it. Tshuva means to return. And where you're returning to? You're returning to a place which is above the Bria, even before the Bria, before there was Toiv v'Ra. So if I'm going on this kind of, if I fell into this wayward path here in this world, and I just fell into something which is like really a bad thing, so in a bad way, and it's a corruption of your Bria. But Tshuva means that it's possible for a person to go back to their makar, and in a place where there is no Tov v'Ra, and start from scratch. What does it mean to start from scratch? We didn't know exactly what start from scratch means. go back to square one. What's square one?
It's actually before square one.
I don't know what square one is.
But this before.
Probably square one, I think I once read, comes from hopscotch.
Ah.
Of course, what's hopscotch? Or the Scotch do.
Right.
It was related to Scotch tape. We can keep on going here, but the point is that you're going back to before I was created. So, like, say, Bina is the nekeva, and Chachma is the zachar, duchra v'nukva. So, okay, the duchra is like a seed in the mashal, zachar, and the nekeva fertilizes the seed. And there's no toy v'rad in Bina because there's all the parts of the seed. But even though you're mixing it with dirt and fertilization and rain, and it's really like sort of a rotting procedure that's going on there in Bina. But nevertheless, out comes a beautiful thing, a baby. So, like in Bina, there's no toy v'ra. That's where all of the pirud starts to take place. And then when you get into this world, you're defined. Bina. Is this understandable? So if a person is doing Tshuva, so this is just really amazing. And by the way, you'll see, Mirz Hashem, you'll get to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, in all the Lashonos of Tshuva, in the Tefillah, they all bring you to this point, that a person can reset themselves. It's a complete reset to go back like in a place where you never, where you're not correcting down here. You're actually getting back to where you started from. Returning to who you are, to what you are, to where you came from. There's a das in Rabbeinu Yoina. He brings the das. Yesh das is the lashon Rabbeinu Yoina in Shar Tshuva. He says yesh das, which I think he means there's an opinion which says that when you do tshuva, you lose your good things too. If you're resetting, right? You lost all your files. Like you lost everything, not just the bug, not just the you lost everything. So the Rabbeinu Yoina says, "Vein not davar kain." He says it's not so. Baruch Hashem. But you could hear it if you're a kekatan shenoilad, if you're a tunik shenoilad. So that's the lashon of tshuva, right? Arehu ketinik shenoilad. You're a newborn. So why don't you lose your good things? Because the good things, says Rabbeinu Yoina, the good things that you do are a natural manifestation of the neshama that you have. It's not we don't do good things. We stop bad things from happening. We stop ourselves from doing bad things. We're naturally good. The neshama is naturally good, so you don't lose the good because that's what's there in the Bina. You don't lose what's good. The good is good. The good is the Metzias. That's our Metzias. It's only when you're ma'ariv rad to it in this world, like Adam Rishon did with the Nachash, that's when you start having. So you can restart with only good. So you don't lose the good. You just have a stronger neshama because of it. So the good, but not only that, the chiddush of tshuva is that anything negative that you've done, zedoinois nasa kischuyos. Why? Because if you go back into the irvuv, there's no difference between good and bad. Everything can be good, even things that, like certain taivas or certain personality, leanings I have, which seem to take me to a bad place. They can really be good. They can really be used for good. You see some people that are this is pretty radical what I'm going to say. You see some people which they're good people, but like whatever they do, they don't seem to be matzliach. Part of the problem is there's no yetzer hara there. Like yetzer hara is the drive, the koach, ambition. Like those are not bad things. So that's what tshuva is. So tshuva takes us beyond the curtain, beyond the pargoid, and we're starting. No, okay. Once we understand that yesod, we understand. Let's look inside here. Ulashu b'tshuva she'ein davar chashuv kamoiha. Nothing's better than tshuva. Why? Mipnei shehi misakenes kol pigam. It's misakein the pagam. How? Because it's going from before the pagam was created. Ukamai shedarach habina. Let's try to understand this. Ukamai shedarach habina lamate kol hadinim ulavatom rirusam. Just like the Bina is mamtik the dinim. What does it mean? That the Bina is receiving its energy from Chachma, but then it starts to sort it out, and it's mematek, sweetens the dinim, ulavatom rirusam, right? Refining, kach adam yashu b'tshuva, so a person does tshuva, v'yisaking kol hagam. I just want to learn with you a Gemara, which see how it relates. The Gemara says in Brachas, I believe it's Brachas Nuntes. So the Gemara says, actually the Mishnah says, that al azikim val azvois val ra'amim val haruchais val habrakim oimer baruch shekoichai u'barasei molei olam. There's a bracha on thunder. There's a bracha on tornado, al aruchais. See a tornado. So you make a baruch shekara koichai u'barasei molei olam. You see the koyach. There's a little lashon over here. Shekoichai u'barasei molei olam. Get it? Keep that in mind. Koichai u'barasei. So one of the things is al hazva'is. What are zva'is? Anybody there? What are zva'is? So the Gemara says on Nuntes, my zva'is. Machavim to the gasha. My zva'is. What are zva'is? Amar Rav Katina. So Rav Katina said, guha. Guha. Does that help? So Rashi says guha. Bilashainam. Aramaic, I don't know what like Bilashainam. Kairin reidas ara guha. Means earthquakes. An earthquake is called a guha. Guha. Okay. So if you experience an earthquake, so you experience a guha, and I'm just envisioning this, Chabad guy running around in Nepal and just sleep over here. You have experienced an earthquake, so you have to make experience an earthquake, right? None of the Yoma. Crazy, dangerous. Take it deeper. So what's an earthquake? Obviously the current events got me thinking about this. I don't know what it is seismologically. There's a fault in the earth, and the earth is adjusting itself. But what's an earthquake? What's going on? So I'll tell you what I think an earthquake is, but I'll learn this Gemara. So Gemara says Rav Katina, the same Rav Katina who said that a zeva'is is a guha. So the Gemara says Rav Katina havika'azal ba'orcha. Rav Katina was once walking in the street. Kimata pischa debei oiva tamya, and he passed by the doorway of somebody a sorcerer who was doing oiv. So ov yadoni. So ov is where they take bones, human bones, and they save them. And they have whole houses of skeletons and crossbones and all that, skulls. They have these whole houses of things. That's what Baal Ov is. Not only walking around with a bone. He's got this is like a whole church of bones. So he takes this horrible, Halloween thing, and by doing that with the skulls and what are they called? Skulls and crossbones, right? Which is like the sign of poison. He's able to talk to the dead. So he's mala the dead. That's what Ov is. Torah says you're not allowed to do Ov. It was a big Yetzer Hara. If somebody actually knew how to do this whatever it was, Koach HaTumah or something, so it's a big Yetzer Hara.
So which line is stuck with?
What?
Makes it which one you can stop with.
You can predict things. Communicate with the dead, right? And the dead presumably are in a different place, so they know what's going on, like you said. So Kimata Pischa de Be'ova Tamya. Tamya Rashi says he came by a house which was full of these bones of bone. Ginach Guha. All of a sudden there was an earthquake. It's interesting because the house of bones was there before Rav Katina walked by it, and it was there after. But somehow the combination of Rav Katina walking by this place of Tumah was created an earthquake. So there was an earthquake. Amar, so he said, Rav Katina said, Miyada ova tamya haigu hamahu. Do you, the Baal Oiv, know? He called him to the house. Do you, the Baal Oiv, know what an earthquake is all about? My gosh, Maza, Mahu, haigua dignach Mahu. Ramalei Kola. So the guy inside raised up his voice and he said, Katina, Katina, amai lo yadana. Why don't you know something elementary? Why don't you know what an earthquake is? And this Zayvid of Desert, whatever he was, says, B'shasha HaKadosh Baruch Hu Zeicher is Bono, that when Hashem remembers His children, Shishruim B'tzar Ben Oivdei Kechavim, that they're B'tzar by Oivdei Kechavim, Kiviyachol, Moirid Shtei Demois Liyam Hagadol. When Klal Yisrael is in terrible tsar, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sheds 2 tears into the Yam Hagadol. V'koilam nishma misoifa oilam v'ad soifa. And those 2 tears create a sort of a butterfly effect, which is going to be nishma misoifa oilam ad soifa oilam. V'hainu gucha. And that's what an earthquake is. Why don't you know that, Katina? Amar Rav Katina, so Rav Katina said, Oiva Tamya Kadivhu Umile Kadivin. That everything that he said is sheker, he's a shakran, and his words are sheker. Oiva Tamya, the Baal of Kadivhu, means like Kasiv, Kadivhu, Umile Kadivin, and his words are sheker. He's a shakran, and his words are sheker. Because if he would be right, Guha mibayale. There was 2 demois into the Yam HaGadol, so it should be an earthquake, Guha. There should be always 2 earthquakes, not 1 earthquake. Says the Gemara, V'loihi, and this is not so. Guha of it, because there always are aftershocks in an earthquake. But Rav Katina didn't want to say that you're saying the right shot, because the next thing you know, all the Yiddelach will be lined up by the Baal Oiv, who was like a big makobel. Rav Katina didei Amar. Rav Katina said his own shot. He says, it's not about the 2 demois in the Yam HaGadol, but kap of soifeg zu al gav zu. What's really happening is like HaKadosh Baruch Hu clapped his hands. The day God clapped. Doesn't say clapped, applauded, but put his hands together. Namar says in Yecheskel, v'gam ani ake kape al kapi. Yecheskel says that sometimes Hashem puts his hand on his hand, v'ani choisi chamosi, and I release my anger. Rabbi Yonasan Omar, Anocha Mesanech, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving out a sigh. That's what an earthquake is. Shenamar, Ani Choisi Chamosi Bam Vihi Nechamsi. This is a way of creating good. Rabbanan Amri Boyet Barakia. HaKadosh Baruch Hu bangs the heavens. Shenamar Heidod Kedarchim Yanel Kol Yeshvei Aretz. Rabbi Yaacov Haber, Doichekes Raglav Tachas Kisei HaKavod. The Baruch Hu starts to kick his feet. Sol Kiviyachol, the Kisei HaKavod. Shenemar Koyamar Hashem Hashemayim Kisi VaOretz Hadem Raglai. Okay, so we have 5 pshatim on what an earthquake is, and not one of them makes any sense. Like what is really going on? Guha mahi, zvois mahi. What is it all about? So we have the shita of the Baloib, the shita of Rav Katina, which is really a good vart. Because Baruch Hu's marriage state to Mois liam hagadol. What could that possibly mean? Because Baruch Hu marriage state to Mois liam hagadol. So let me try to articulate something here. The inyan of dima, crying. Real men don't cry. Crying is particularly tears. Tears are something which are a result of, hearing something or seeing something which is very emotional, having some kind of an emotional experience. So there's an immediate tears. There could be tears of joy, there could be tears of sadness, but it's a tear because it's completely emotional. The mature male then takes this emotion and intellectualizes it, litvicizes it. So all of a sudden it's going through a process. Well, let me think about this for a second. It's like an immediate process when you're mature. If you're not mature, so then you don't have control of this process at all. But if you're mature, so then everything kicks in. So let me think about this for a second. You intellectualize it. The shock is, plus it's like really overwhelming. The shock gets sorted out. You reason with it, etc. There's a whole derech, and you don't cry. You're discussing intelligently. So what do you get? You get a situation. Your wife is crying, and you're discussing intelligently. By the way, not every male is a male, not every female is a female. Sometimes a male is a female is a male. But it's a tchuna of the emotion, or the Bina, if you will, overriding. That's what demois are. Shari demois loy ninalu. That a person's davening, you're entitled and requested to daven without intellect. To daven shari, you can daven with intellect, so you can reason with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You can argue with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we'll find this. But dima, who knows? He eats tagla fanacha, but okay, no, look, you have a good argument. You don't have a good argument. You're smarter than God. Why are you doing this to me? Okay, you want to know why? There's always a pshat. But dima is crawling into a place. Dima represents a place which is before all of the pirud.
So the intellectualization is the pirud?
Is a pirud where you sort things out, right? Imein locha das havdalah minayim. Das, right? We say das b'choinen adas. We say havdalah b'choinen adas because imein locha das havdalah minayim. What's the omek hadover? That in Bina there's no havdalah. And where there's no havdalah, you're strictly in like sort of an emotional place. I can't sort it out with the faculties that are given to me. I can't analyze it scientifically.
How could Hashem cry then? That's the case.
Because it's kulei emes. It's before there's kulei emes, before there's any kind of analysis or pirud or intellectual. It's something which is just like sometimes you can read an essay which is 1,000 pages long, and you think, okay, he's got into the emes. Or something is just true. Just it rings true, it hits you as true. It's like a different level of MS where MS Gomor ain't srichin l'raya. You don't have to bring one raya when you're saying something which is 100% MS. Everybody says, that's MS. It's MS. When you hear real MS, it's MS, You daven, if you want to daven for something, you daven for that MS. That your gut feeling is the right feeling. That's MS. And sometimes it's dima. So shari demois ninalu means that a person is crawling above all of the intellectual arguments and coming to HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'dima. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's dima. HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees Klal Yisrael b'tzar. This is what the Baal Oiv said, and this is where we're learning. Baal Oiv said, and Rav Katina is really masking but doesn't want to say so. Klai Yisrael Shari B'tzar. Do they deserve to be B'tzar? Do they not deserve to be B'tzar? Do they do Averas? Well, of course, I mean, it wouldn't happen if it wasn't deserving. At least, Yesh Din v'Yesh Dayan. But that's all with Din. That's all when you're going with Din. Din is the in this world is Din. Breishis bara likim es hashemayim v'zaretz. It's all about Din. If you can crawl above the Din into the place of Bina, which is a place of Rachamim, so now what you have is Dima. In other words, you're crawling above the. There's no. Judges don't cry. There's no. Emotion is a chasarn in a place of Din. If you get emotional, you might be affected by it, but it's not supposed to be. Am I correct? You're a shtickle judge, right? Not supposed to be affected by emotion. Emotion is not clear logic. It's not clear thinking. So you're talking about Din, but Dima goes above the Din. So Din is lav dafka. So Kadosh Baruch Hu sees that people are B'tzar, Klal Yisrael is B'tzar, so that's Din. But Kadosh Baruch Hu's marriage shtei demois liam hagadol. Kadosh Baruch Hu puts something into this world at that moment, mixes into the creation, dema. And that comes to the world. If something goes into the Yam HaGadol, just in parentheses, if somebody spits into the Yam HaGadol, Havdalah of those, there isn't a scientist in the world that's going to be mavchen. There's more drops in the Yam HaGadol. They can't even find 747s in the Yam HaGadol. I mean, the Yam HaGadol is Gadol. It's an amazing thing. I don't know. This is what the whole world learned a few months ago. Yam HaGadol is big. It's very big. And even if you covered a whole scan of it, you haven't covered the depth of it. So we don't even know how many drops are in a cup of water, let alone in the Yam HaGadol. So the fact that I believe that the metaphor of Kadosh Baruch Hu dropping 2 drops of tears into the Yam HaGadol is a metaphor for something which has no significance to the human mind. Okay, yet it causes re'idas adama. So you following me here on what's going on here? Re'idas hadama. I'll tell you. I take it earlier. Just tell you what I do. There's very few things that we can 100% rely on. You can, if you have a job today, do you have a job tomorrow? If you have a customer today, do you have a customer tomorrow? If you have shalom bayis today, you have shalom bayis tomorrow. If your children like you today, will they like you tomorrow? There's very few things that are you can really put on their chazaka and say, But there's an expression in the Gemara of bar kechama. This is bar, like the sun rises in the morning. So Baruch Hashem, you can pretty much rely on the fact that the sun's going to rise in the morning. Otherwise, we're really in an unstable place. Pretty much, even through the times of Chatoyim, even during the Holocaust, the sun rose in the morning. Another thing you can rely on is the earth under your feet. Pretty much, when you're walking down the street, you can rely on the fact that the earth is going to be there in one step. That's more reliable than my business. The earth. Why is it reliable? Because there's certain things in nature which are reliable. It's pretty reliable that things are not going to start levitating. And if you drop something, it's going to fall. Nature is there are freaks of nature, but nature is pretty. We rely on nature.
It's predictable.
Predictable. It's you can not just predictable. You can count on it. There's a Mishnah Berurah says that. I'll just give an example. The Mishnah Berurah says that anything. The halach is anything that was unusable Ben Hashmashas is muksa the whole Shabbos. Midah dis katzoy ben Hashmashas is katzoy l'kol yom pulay. Why? Because your das is ben Hashmashas, but let's say your das is 100% that this is going to be usable. Like let's say, Shulchan Aruch says examples, you put dates on your roof to dry out and this and that. So, okay, is that predictable? Not predictable, you know. But if it would be predictable, like it depends on the climate that you're living in. If it would be 100% predictable, so even though this is unusual, ben hashmash, my das is already that it's good because I know that by tomorrow it's going to. So date's not so pasha. But let's say the Mishnah Berurah says that if you're living in a hot climate and your clothing is wet, just came out of the washing machine, just came out of the washing machine on Friday night, so now you can hang it up Friday night and wear it Shabbos morning. It was muksa ben hashmashas. If you hang it outside, well, maybe it's going to rain. So the verse says if you live in a hot climate where it doesn't rain, like, you know, it looks like it's going to rain today, even though it's the wrong thing. But if you live in a place where it's like sort of definitely not going to rain, you know, Tzchuvas Tammuz is not going to rain, and it's definitely going to be a hot sun, and it's definitely going to dry these clothes, so it's not muksa. So it's baruch acham. It's not muksa. It's licht shain. An example of that is a dryer. If you put something into the dryer, so even though ben hashmashas it wasn't royally ishtamshus, so it's l'chor zimigad is katzoy ben hashmashas is katzoy l'kula yoyma. But since your dryer up your teva is going to work and the clothes are going to be dry an hour after Shabbos, so it's not going to be muksa on Shabbos because your das was there l'chatchila. So you talk about a person's das. A person's das is based on teva. Breishis bar elikim. I always say like the relaxing part about walking in the park is everything's predictable, unlike everything else in life. Like the birds are going to chirp, and the trees are going to be there, and the sun's going to, and the river's going to flow, and this is a very beautiful, relaxing. We even make paintings of it and put it on the ground. But it's something which is predictable. It's going to be something predictable in my life. Somebody was telling me that they had a, their husband was diagnosed crazy. So, like trying to get away from her, like it was like a whole thing. But this woman told me that she realized that, that's, at least that's predictable, wake up in the morning, he's going to be crazy. He's going to be screaming, he's going to do crazy things. But it's predictable, like better the car you know than the car you don't know. Like, marry somebody else. She's explaining why she stayed with us. She married somebody else, like I also thought my husband was so like there's something geschmack about relaxation, about predictability, and it's going to happen, which is nature, which is the shame of midas hadin. So we always say we don't like midas hadin. We really do like midas hadin because midas hadin is predictable, tit for tat. We know what's going to happen. Breishis bar elikim, all of nature. And even oinshim are hadin, and it's predictable and it's real. The ground you walk on is real. What's an earthquake? Like even that which I so clearly relied on, the earth under my feet, it's shaking. The earth under my feet has no stability to it. Wow! Like so, what happens is it means to say that even the midas hadin can have in it midas harachamim. Din, Breishis bar elikim. This is the way the earth is. This is the way the sun goes. And but Yeshua stopped the sun. There are simanim in the bria where the midas hadin can also be changed. How? By going back to Bina, like Tshuva. It can go back to where it comes from. I'll tell you a chiddush that dima. The word dima means tears. What's the root?
Dema.
Okay, what does that mean? Like, so if you look at the Mishnayos and Taurus, there's a thing called dimua. So dimua is when you have a bushel of apples, and some of them are meisered and some of them are not meisered. It's called dimua. So dimua really means a mixture.
Tamai.
No, not tamai.
No, not tamai.
Tamai is an olive. Dimua, it's a lashon of the Mishnah, dimua. When two things, tamai and tar, are mixed together, you don't know what's what, it's all in the mixture. That's called dimua. It has its own din. It's tar, tamai, dimua. Dimua is a mixture. The world is going with midas hadin the lashon of Chazal is that when Hashem created the world, Baris Ha'olam b'midas hadim Rosh Eino Ha'olam Miskayim. He saw the world can't work. Shiteif imai midas harachman. He added to it, into the recipe, midas harachman. It means that there's all of a sudden not din, but it's not staccato din, but there's a mixture here. So there's a mixture, shiteif imai midas harachman. So all of a sudden rachman and din are working together. This is before the period. It's before the period. So the bad news is that everything that I rely on is not reliable. Because once HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going back to Bina, we all know Hashem can do anything he wants, but I'm just saying the mechanism, that once you go back to Bina, like there's no law that says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to keep the law. There's a law of nature, but, Hashem can break that law. What does it mean? Shitef imai midas harachman. So the bad news is that you'll get an earthquake. Even the most stable thing under your ground can move. The good news is that you can do tshuva. Because it means to say that everything is not necessarily in din. We see from the earthquake that not everything is din. There's a midah of Bina which is higher than din. So Rav Katina la'atzmei amar, Rav Katina didei amar, put aside what the Baal Oiv said, shtei demois liyam hagadol, what seems to be a demois is a mixture of din and chesed, which only can be in Bina, liyam hagadol in a way that seems insignificant, but yet it's so significant because it'll shake up the very bria and create an earthquake. That's the way the Baal Oiv understood it. So Rav Katina didei amar, kapov seifek zu al gav zu, that the yad yamin is chesed, and the yad small is din, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is seifek yad zu al gav zu. He mixes the din and the chesed, which is called in Kabbalistic language hamtokas hadinim.
That's what he says. Yeah.
Lematekes hadinim. That's what I'm saying. Lematekes hadin. So lematekes hadin, Tshuva is Tshuva. Tshuva takes us back to a place before the period. So if it's a place before, or I should say, a place before the period, so then it's possible to do Tshuva. It's dainais dansikas chuyos, and there's a sort of a chaotic feeling there. But it's a place that can be accessed. We can access this ourselves. Just one more thing. The Gemara says in I want to say Sanhedrin Yotes. The Gemara says that the Sanhedrin at one time here in Eretz Yisrael was taken over by the Tzedukim. It was completely Tzeduki in the time of Yanai HaMelech. Yanai HaMelech was a Tzeduki. Yanai Zu Yochanan, this is the last couple hundred years before the Churban Bayis. So this place, Eretz Yisrael, became very Tzeduki. And Shimon ben and they were killing Yanai Melech Harag Kol HaChachamim. He killed all the Chachamim because the Chacham weren't Tzedukim. But he was married to Shlomtzion HaMalka, who was more significant than a street by the Shuk Machne Yehuda. Shlomtzion HaMalka, her brother was Shimon ben Shetach, who was a Pharisee. So the two brothers-in-law, can't kill him. So he said, go to Golos. Better than me killing you, like go to Golos. His brother-in-law. His wife would get angry at him. He killed her brother. And then he came back. He was invited back, and because Yanai felt that he accomplished his thing by killing all the Chachamim. And Shimon ben Shetach was appointed the head of the Sanhedrin. So here you had a situation where Shimon ben Shetach was the head of the Sanhedrin in Yerushalayim, by the Kaisel. But the whole Sanhedrin was Tzedukim. And their case came before the court where an Eved killed somebody. So Eved killed somebody. What's the din when an Eved kills somebody? So the din when an Eved kills somebody is Yavai Baal Hashor. Like, let's say your shor kills somebody, so now the Baal Hashor has to come to court. So if the Baal HaEved should come to court. Okay, Badak, they say, who was this Eved's Adon? Was Yanai Melech. So all of a sudden, Shimon ben Shetach has to subpoenas his brother-in-law, Yanai Melech, to the Sanhedrin. And he says to him, Amoid, you should stand before the court. That's the din, you have to stand before you go to base, you have to stand before the court. Amoid, you're not standing for me, you're standing before he who created the world. The significance here is, din. We're doing din. And din has to do with the Brias Olam. Bereshis bara elikim as Hashemayim as that's the Yomek Hadar. Yanai says, I'm a king, I don't need to stand before you. You're my subjects. You're right, I tell you what to do, you don't tell me what to do. You stand before me. Power struggle. Yanai Melech and the Sanhedrin. Okay. Like this is, it's like the ultimate balabas, you know. You stand up before me. Okay. So Yanai, so Shimon ben Shetach said, let the Sanhedrin decide whether you should stand up or you shouldn't stand up. So he said, should Yanai HaMelech stand up before the Sanhedrin? And he asked the Sanhedrin of Tzedukim, and he looks to the right, and they all kavash. He looks to the left, the other 30 so people, kavash pneim b'karka. The Shimon ben Shetach stands alone. It is corrupt Sanhedrin, and Yanai is smiling. By the way, the Marsha says that who was the Eved that killed somebody? Those Hordus, who became also huge Mitzaris Yisrael. So this was like intimidation tactics. Biyad, says the Gemara, is Dazei Eretz Yisrael Alpayim Mama Alpayim Mama. There was an earthquake at that moment, and the whole Eretz Yisrael shook 2,000 amos, whatever that is. There was an earthquake at that moment. What's the? I mean, there's so much to say historically about this, and okay, so I'm sure I've spoken about it in Pirkei Avos, speak about it again. But like, what's the pshat here? The pshat is that we're trying to do din here. So if we're trying to do din is the same din which says who's innocent and who's guilty. Is the same din which makes the karka staple. But when you're ma'aves is hadin, and you're corrupting the din, so what you're doing in a bad way, in a negative way, is you're saying leis din v'leis dayan. And that's why he said loy lifnei lefanaya lifnei misha baras ha'olam. You're corrupting din. Now when we corrupt din when we do tshuva. We're corrupting the din. But when you're corrupting the din, all of a sudden the earth that you stand on is no longer stable. And everything starts to shake. Hence the Re'idas Ha'adam. And that's the pshat in the Baal Oiv that he was talking about. What we're trying to do, though, says the Timer Devorah, is Hamtokas Adinim. So Hamtokas Adinim makes the din sweeter. So okay, like sometimes we're saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like, okay, we know the din. Like the din is the din. But can we be extra halachic here? Can we do something which is... and that's how sometimes a person, doesn't even go through the process of tshuva, but he's koinoi lamai b'sha'achas. To get above the din, into the place, din has everything to do with pirud. Din, very staccato. Right? This is how this works. Laws. But, so serving the purpose of the law. But if we can go higher than that and do a restart, so then we come to Bina. So Bina is tshuva. But Kamoi Shah Bina, let's just read the last line and we'll go. Shederach HaBina Lamate Kol Adinim. As Rabbi Yoni said, Derech HaBina Lamate Kol Adinim, that Bina is Dimua. It's an Irvuv of Toivera. Ulavato Mirusam, take the edge off of the din, which is why Kodesh Baruch Hu Soifek Chesed Yad Yamin and Gvur Yad Shmuel and puts it together Lamate Hadinim. This is something that Hasidic Rebbes do in the davening also, right? Hamtokas Hadinim. So by doing that, Kach Ha'adam Yoshu B'Tshuva V'Yitakin Kol Pagam. So this is the mechanism of tshuva I mean, without understanding this, these lines are just meaningless, I think. But by understanding it, it's so omok that you can be mamam. The Tshuva is hamtokas hadinim, and saying, don't go al tavei lefanacha badin v'tzadkeinu b'mishpat, tzadkeinu b'mishpat, and then we can have a restart. And once we have the restart, so then we've accessed the Bina, the significance of Bina, step one, and we can do Tshuva in a very, very deep way. I thank you for listening.